So now 2016 is on track to be one of the biggest years of political spending in history. Now this is after, of course, Citizens United and the McCutcheon ruling, which allow millions and millions of dollars to be poured into elections. It might even get up into the billions of dollars by the time this is over with. So you might be wondering, okay, who is receiving most of this money? And who is giving most of this money? Now, unfortunately for us, and for people who care about the integrity of our political system, there are groups called 501c4s. These are social welfare groups that actually don't have to disclose their donors. Now, what's interesting enough is who they are donating to, which actually does have to be disclosed. And it might surprise you that one of the biggest receivers of this 501c4 welfare money, social welfare money, is not Jeb Bush. It's actually Marco Rubio. Now this is interesting. Now this comes from disclosure filings. And it says that the Florida Senator, Marco Rubio, has actually gotten about $8.5 million in free ads promoting his candidacy in early states. Now that's really interesting. Now these ads, where did they come from? Who's paying for them? Well, as I had mentioned before, the 501c4s, we don't actually know who is giving money to these PACs, to these social welfare organizations. But we do know where they're spending it. And we do know, of course, what the name of this PAC is. This is comes from the Conservative Solutions Project. And it's described as a 501c4 organization that is supposed to use its money to promote social welfare causes. Now, 501c4 social welfare groups, according to the statutes, must promote the common good and general welfare of the people of the community as a whole, rather than an individual candidate for political office. Now, why is that important? Well, that's the point where I'm going to get to. The cause that Conservative Solutions Project seems to be promoting is the candidacy of Marco Rubio. They're not actually, promoting things that are good for the social, for the general welfare, for the good of the community of the people. No, it's supporting Marco Rubio, which is in violation of IRS regulations. In fact, this group is the second biggest spender in the presidential race so far. In a New York Times editorial called, a New York Times editorial called Conservative Solutions Project's tactic of supporting Marco Rubio through these ads, they called it one of the most brazen abuses of the political finance system. Is anyone really surprised? You shouldn't be. Now, there are some watchdog groups as well chiming in on this. And Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, along with the Campaign Legal Center and Democracy 21, have actually filed complaints with the IRS and have urged the Justice Department to actually try to investigate Conservative Solutions Project. Now you could only imagine the fallout from that. And remember, Justice Department is headed up by Obama pick Loretta Lynch. If she starts looking into Conservative Solutions Project, despite the fact that it seems to be blatantly flouting IRS law, can you imagine the outrage on Fox News? Conservative heads would explode. Oh my God, why are you targeting this social welfare group? All they're trying to do is just, promote social welfare causes by siding with Marco Rubio that wants to get rid of all social welfare. But see, the IRS kind of got its hands tied, and so does the FEC, which is actually supposed to regulate this stuff. Now, according to Democracy 21 President Fred Wertheimer, and this was in a statement obtained by the Associated Press, the Conservative Solutions Project is flaunting the tax laws and flaunting the interests of the American people by using its improper claim of nonprofit tax status to keep secret the donors financing its campaign activities. Now, not only that, but the tactic that this group is actually trying to use is downright dirty. And they're actually counting on the fact that any accounting of its status won't happen until after there's an election, whether or not Marco Rubio loses. If Rubio loses, everybody's going to forget about where the money came from. Doesn't matter. We've got somebody else. Who cares? Or if Marco wins, which at the moment right now, you can't really say whether or not he's going to or not. But it's a possibility still. And right now, unlike Jeb Bush, he's actually doing decently in polls. He's like a solid 4th or 5th place behind Ted Cruz. Whereas Jeb is like in last place, almost. He's pretty far down there. So he seems to be doing pretty well at carrying the water for the establishment Republicans. That's why this group is spending a lot of money on Marco Rubio's behalf to try to get him elected. And if he gets elected, he can kind of sweep this under the rug. And that's what they're worried about. That's why watchdog groups are concerned about this. And they want to bring this to light. So here's the thing. When it comes to quashing any sort of investigation on this, it's very likely that they would get away with it. As I mentioned, the FEC is broken. They're supposed to police election spending. That's the whole point, is to make sure they're not breaking any campaign laws. But right now, they're incredibly dysfunctional. In fact, if you remember Ann M. Ravel, who was the chairwoman of the FEC, she had told a news outlet, I believe it might have been the New York Times, in an interview a while back, that the likelihood of the laws being enforced is slim. I never want to give up, but I'm not under any illusions. People think the FEC is dysfunctional. It's worse than dysfunctional. As I mentioned before, what kind of dysfunction is going on in the FEC? Well, members, and it's divided on a partisan basis. You have equal Republicans and equal Democrats. Unfortunately, they're not even on speaking terms at all. They disagree on what and on the whole point of the agency. The whole point being, of course, being able to regulate campaign finance laws. They can't even agree on which laws in the books to enforce. They don't agree. Like, we should enforce this law. No, I don't agree. And I'm not going to talk to you. So, essentially what we have here is a free-for-all when it comes to campaign spending. And Republicans don't want to enforce any campaign laws. Because, guess what? They're the party that is most likely to receive campaign donations. Now, don't get me wrong. Both sides get massive campaign contributions. But the Republicans tend to get a lot more from business interests. And Republicans, as I said, they used to be interested in making sure that our political system wasn't completely corrupted. But now, the people on the FEC, the agency charged with regulating campaign spending, well, they don't even want to try. They don't even care to try. Now, as far as Marco Rubio is concerned, well, according to the law, which people barely follow, you're actually not supposed to coordinate with any of these groups. That's illegal. And Rubio says this: as long as you know who's behind the money and how much they're giving and where they're spending it, I think that's the sunlight we need. Now, that's him telling a voter in New Hampshire regarding campaign financing, right? Now, the editorial writers at the New York Times had wrote this in regards to that statement. He should tell this to his allies running conservative solutions. If he does not, someone in the next debate should ask him who's been paying for his TV spots. It doesn't seem to me that Marco Rubio is all that interested in trying to have a little sunlight on who's been paying for his free ads. The guy's been getting a free lunch. And if you think he wants to give that up, well, I don't agree. Let's just say that I don't think that he's going to give up this free lunch. This $8.5 million free lunch.